I apologize for the delay. My name is Rabbi Yaakov Bender. It's the only session I've asked if I can introduce today. Yeah, 30 seconds. It's okay. My father, Baruch Hashem, he spends his besides running the yeshiva, he spends his life, literally traveling around, New York and beyond, and speaking to people. But I think I turned it on. What it means to actually care for a loved one, specifically from afar, when these challenges arise. And as his kanahara, his 8 children. If anybody ever asks us, obviously, there's 2 questions, and that's I'll introduce my father. They ask 2 questions, typically speaking. They say, your father's taking care of the whole Klal Yisrael. Was he ever home? And the answer I always say, Baruch Hashem, is yes, somehow, some way. He was a parent before anything else. And the second greatest lesson that he's taught us, I have these vivid memories since I was a child in 5th grade. I know I'm not 65 years old, of my father coming in there and saying, "How many people in this room have grandparents?" And when I was younger, it was less. As I got older, it was more. How many of you write faxes or write letters to your grandparents? We used to have a safety speech about buses. How many people take care of your grandparents? And everything imaginable was to make sure that we were there for our loved ones. So when this conference arose, I asked the Rosh Hashiva Shlita to make sure that if there's one thing that he can give over, it's to really make sure that we as children, as spouses, as children and grandchildren, can do a better job. And I don't think, the name aside, I don't think there's anybody that's more qualified or fit to really deliver these words today. And I'm excited that we have this opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Rabbi, for your very kind words. Go do your thing. Thank you for reminding me. And this is a chazal. Not everybody's familiar with the words of the Torah, so I'm going to repeat it in English. That people can be jealous. People are jealous of anyone and everyone except for their child or their student. So I feel very good about the fact that Achiezer has come as far as it's come. It's a good feeling, despite Baruch Ber, and we're very, very happy to be here, Baruch Hashem. I was raised in an atmosphere that Kibbud Av V'Em is first and primary and the most important thing that we have. But the topic I think they gave me today was how to care for a parent from afar, which is a problem many of us have today because we have parents living in Israel, or living in Europe, or living even in South America. And how do you keep in touch with them? I think today's day and age is rather simple, much easier than it was years ago. But I think the idea that we established it, I was involved in Hatzalah in Far Rockaway, in our neighborhood in the 5 towns when it started. And we had a lady who lived across the street from us, an old lady, her name was Mrs. Sable. Mrs. Sable had no one in the world, unfortunately. She had one daughter who passed away young of a brain tumor, and she had one granddaughter who lived. But she really had no one and nothing in the world. She had us sort of the block on Hicksville Road. We were all very, very close to her. And we invited her for Shabbos and so on and so forth. But she had no one. One time she said to me, Rabbi Bender, if that Hatzalah was begun by a few of us, she said, I want to tell you something. You think Hatzalah is wonderful because of the medical care that it gives. That's what you think it gives. You're wrong. Hatzalah to me is much bigger than that. When I go to sleep at night, and I used to worry, if something goes wrong, what do I do? Today, I don't worry anymore. I know I pick up my phone. At that time, the number was 718-387-1750. I dial the number, and I know someone will be here. An earlier person will be here in a few minutes to help me. That's why Hatzalah is so fabulous. I sleep better, have a better night. The fact is that our parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, whatever you want to refer to them as, will sleep better and feel better when they know we're there for them. And that's, I think, the kunst. That's the trick, I think, today. We have to try to establish how we could make sure that our parents know that we're worrying about them, caring about them at all times. After the Jews left Egypt some 3,300 years ago, and they were just coming back from Mount Sinai, or they were going to Mount Sinai, then the Parshas Mishpatim, the Torah tells us that some of the elders there saw God, whatever that means. It was difficult for Yisrael. V'sachas raglav kilivnas k'maisei livnas asapir, under his feet, as a step stool is thought of for God, for HaKadosh Baruch Hu, for Kaviyachal, there was over there a sapphire brick. And Rashi says, what was the reason for the sapphire brick? So that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, God himself, Kaviyachal, should remember about the shibud, about the slavery that went on in Egypt. So he had a brick, but for him it had to be a sapphire brick. And the obvious question arises, why was there such a need? HaKadosh Baruch Hu needs to have God, needs to remember. He doesn't have everything at his fingertips. He knows exactly what's going on throughout the world, wherever anyone might be, whatever they need. The answer is he wanted it there as a constant thing in front of him. That's our job, I think, with our parents and grandparents. In whatever we do and anything we do, we have to remember at all times how they're doing and what can I do to make their life better, and that they should feel that I'm worrying about them. I mentioned about letter writing. So when I was a child growing up, we were told to write letters to the Zayda in Eretz Yisrael, to the grandfather in Eretz Yisrael. We had to write one letter every single week to my grandfather in Eretz Yisrael. I was 6, 7, 8 years old. He had these long, he remembers those long blue airmail letters, which was quite long. And then wasn't enough for my father. My father insisted that we write on both flaps. Now, every week to write, I'd say, Daddy, what should we write about? And Daddy said, simple, everything you did today. What you ate for lunch, what you ate for supper, what happened in school, did you play ball, did you win, did you lose, etc., etc. Everything. I want to say that the grandfather, all I had is one. Remember, we grew up in a generation without grandparents. Our grandparents disappeared in the Holocaust, disappeared. Many of us, that is. There were very few grandparents. In my class in Tarvadas, I remember this whole time when I grew up as a little child in Tarvadas, there were 35 kids in a class. Today they would shecht you for 35 kids in a class, but 35 kids in a class, so the possibility arose to have 140 grandparents, 4 per child. And we had the entire class, 10 grandparents. The entire class, and most from a few families only. I was one of the lucky ones who had a grandfather. But my grandfather lived in Israel. In 1948, when the state was founded, my grandfather moved with his second wife to Eretz Yisrael, and our job was to write one letter a week. What was the letter about? Everything that went on in our daily life. And when my grandfather visited 3 times, my grandfather visited us 3 separate times in the years between 1948 and 65 that my father passed away. In those 3 visits, he knew everything about us. It wasn't like he was coming to visit children he didn't know. He knew everything about his 6 grandchildren, everything about them, because we wrote him constantly. That was our job then, to write letters. Tell children today to write letters. It's a joke. What's a letter? Where? What? When? Text? Emailing. The kids don't know phone numbers today. They have to look up, they have to take out their phones and scroll the phones and find out what their phone numbers were. There's no kunz. But there's an answer. There really is an answer. I'm going to shorten my prepared remarks today because of the next session that's starting at 2:15. There really is an answer. But let's first understand what a parent is. I traveled. My father passed away in 1965. I was 15 years old. And I traveled to yeshiva every day by subway. And I was the one, my brother-in-law, Reb Chaim Epstein, who passed away this past year. I was during a time in the Philadelphia yeshiva. And my father said, my brother-in-law said, you're the one that's going to be home with your mother. You're staying home with your mother. And for the next 8 years, till I got married, I stayed home. But I traveled by subway every single day, in the morning and at night. The subways, well, what can I tell you? Kids don't know what subways are today. Those people who work in Manhattan travel on the subways. People don't know what subways is. Just today, and I travel the subway every day. Yuck. First of all, it wasn't clean like today. There was almost no air conditioning on either trains. It wasn't an enjoyable trip. I came home at night 11 o'clock. What's a parent? A parent means when I came home at night 11:05 or 11:10. If I came home 11:10, 11:15, by 11:15 my mother was outside waiting for me. It could have been 10 degrees outside. And the same words the trains were late every single day. I should have told my mother my train comes in 11:30, but she did see me coming home at 11 o'clock sometimes. But every single time she said the same words. Ich ha kemat, Yiddish, said, ich ha kemat gerufen de Polizei. I almost called the police. She was a Holocaust survivor. You're late? You know, I was 17, 18, 19, 20 years old. Ma, relax. I never said that to Chas v'Shalom. I never talked that to my mother. I said, Ma, don't worry. If I went to a wedding or something, I would always call her from the wedding, not from a pocket phone, from something called a phone booth. I used to go up to the phone booth and call my mother at all times because she was always worrying about me. Our parents worry about us. It's our turn to worry about them. They worry about us constantly. There's a Sefer Hasidim, famous Sefer Hasidim, who writes there. This was in his time, 200 years ago, when there was no phones, there was no letter writing with it, we have it now, there was post. He says, Lahalacha, when one is going on a long trip, trips in those days were very dangerous. Lahalacha, he says, by right, when you arrive at your distant city that you're traveling to, by right, you should hire a runner to run back to your parents to tell them that you've arrived safely. Because they're worrying that, did you arrive, did you not arrive? There was maybe telegrams came in the middle 1800s, there were cables. Before that, there was nothing. When you went on a long trip, your parent would not know where you are. That's the chiyuv of kibbutz avayim. That's the chiyuv, to hire somebody when you arrive. Let's say you're traveling, in Europe, from Poland to Hungary, which was a 12, 13, 14-hour trip, whatever it was. By right, he says, hire somebody, send back a message. That's our job. So how do we do that? How is it possible to live like that? Very possible. It's very, very possible, today's day and age. Let me tell you about the Chavetz Chaim. Chavetz Chaim was a great sage who lived in Europe before the war. The excitement last year, of course, we all know that we found a video of the Chavetz Chaim. Who doesn't have a photo now in their house of the Chavetz Chaim picking up his eyes for a second during that video? Great Chavetz Chaim, great sage. They showed him in the early 1900s a radio. Radios came out then, the concept of radio. And he said, they explained it to him what a radio is. There's channels. One channel you hear the news, one channel there's music. Chavetz Chaim said, you know what? It was all created for us. One day, he said, one day you will see, one day, that radio won't be used for the garbage that's on there right now. One day it'll be used at all the channels. Here you'll hear a shir on Masechta Yavamas. Here you'll hear a shir on Masechta Brachas. Here you'll hear a shmuz created for us to use it in the right way. That's what Chavetz Chaim said. One day, you know what? That one day is happening today. Today, technology has made it that you pick up a phone today, dial a daf, any blot, any Masechta, any shir, any shmuz, whatever you want. You push a few buttons, you have what the Chavetz Chaim said then. Technology was created for us today. And we have ways of staying in touch with our parents. Again, the topic was staying in touch with our parents from afar. Is there a better creation than Skype for our parents then? There are families in our yeshiva, in our school, that at least once a week, the children have to go on Skype to their grandparents, wherever they might be living. Be it in LA or be it in Tel Aviv. Doesn't matter. They have to go on Skype. Wow, and the Nachas. I want to tell you something interesting. I don't say the name of the family, even though it's all wonderful. There's an elderly gentleman, a grandparent in our school, who passed away about 6 months ago. His wife, she should live and be well, a wonderful lady, is living alone now, wherever she lives. She's living alone now, and it's for a widow. I apologize to anyone who I may be offending your sensibilities. There are widows sitting here now, but for a widow, it's hard. 85-year-old widow living alone. Her children may be wonderful, but how to care from children from afar means Borough Park and Far Rockaway too, or it means Kew Garden Hills and Flatbush. Caring for people, they're not next door to you. So one of her children convinced her to get a tablet, an iPad. She had shaykhs, she had connection to that, like I have connection to flying to the moon. She didn't understand it at all, zero. This granddaughter sat down with her. I'm telling you, I know the granddaughter personally very well. She's a wonderful young lady. She sat down with her, she said, Bobby, you could do it. She said that she taught her how to use a tablet. She taught her how to use a tablet. And the first thing she does in the morning now, after months of working with her, she goes straight to a tablet to read all the news that her grandchildren are sending her about her family. So I have one email that she sent me, the young lady, the granddaughter sent me, of a letter that she sent. I want to get to the response, but how easy it is really to write, how easy it is really to do. Listen to the letter. The young lady writes, Menachem isn't feeling well. It's one of her children. Menachem isn't feeling well. I picked him up early from school yesterday. You would think this is an important letter for Rabbi Bender to be reading over here. Yenta stuff. You'll hear a minute. Okay. I picked him up early from school yesterday because he called saying his throat was hurting. When I was outside yeshiva, I bumped into a woman, can't remember her name, who subs often in the yeshiva. She says to me, are you Menachem's mother? I must tell you, your son has amazing midos. He's one of the best kids in the class. This granddaughter is writing to her grandmother about her great-grandchild. Menachem came with me to work today. He brought along some stuff to do. His new game that he won from the Pushka contest, some books and a chumash. He made sure to chazir some chumash despite being home. Despite being homesick. No one told him to study. And yes, of course, he davened. Thought you'd all appreciate and enjoy. Nach, as always, is a granddaughter writing to her grandmother. Answer the grandmother who's just starting to type. Someone like me, I answer about 4 words. I'm typing over 20 years, I'm still starting to type. Anyway, answer. This is awesome, exclamation mark. It really makes my life so much more worth living. I am so blessed with my wonderful children. Do you hear the answer here? That's why I got excited. It makes my life worth living. I'm hacking this to the kids in yeshiva for the last 30 years. If you listen, most don't. You could write to your mother, to your grandmother, just that your child is sick, and the sub said he has great midos, probably lied, whatever it is, right? Came to work with me today, right? He brought along some stuff to do, like the prize he just won, and it made the life of the grandmother worth living. Why? She feels part of the family. That's caring from a grandparent from afar. It doesn't have to be fancy trips all the time. It doesn't have to be the biggest zachen in the world. It just has to be caring enough for a grandparent that you care. That's all it has to be. That's all it has to be. Nothing more than that. That's email, texting, Skyping, all into one. I'm not a fan of texting. I can't handle it. I don't handle texting well because you can't work. You can't work. It's whatever. It's ringing in the ears all the time. It's clicking, glinging. I can't handle it. But when you have an old grandparent and you're able to be connected to them, that's what I'm going back now to I told you the very, very beginning when I started. Somebody asked me to mention about the letters. That's what my father wanted us to do for my grandfather. He should feel exactly. Let me tell you a story that my sister told me recently. I have a sister, Blummy. She's quite a lady, lives in Lakewood. She's in her 70s today. Blummy told me the following story. And today, it's so easy to do. So the following story, that one time she was looking through all the photos in our house, and she was all 4 years old, and she can't find any pictures of herself. She got very, very upset. So she told me the story last week. We had yard sets, my father, 50th yard set, so we got together. 50th yard set, my father, last week, Tuesday night. Where were you when my father passed away? Where were you when you heard? Everybody in Williamsburg remembers where they were when my father passed away. Right, sir? Do you remember where you were? Yeah. Because such a sack. He was a healthy, strong person. It's much smaller Jewish community. Anyway, so we had a 50th yard this week, so we got together. One sister, unfortunately, has passed away already. My sister tells me that she was going through the photos in the house, and she can't find. What does a kid look for? What do we look for? A picture of ourselves, right? We're vain. You ever notice when you scribble, by the way? You ever sitting and scribble by speech? What you scribble? Half the time you're scribbling your own signature. We're busy with ourselves. So she's looking for her photos. She can't find them. She walked into my mother. Ma, you don't care about me? A 4-year-old talking to her mother. You don't care about me? No pictures of me? My mother don't calming ways. Daigenish, don't worry. The pictures are here. It'll fine. My father passed away in November 65. In June 67 was the 6-Day War. Milchemet Sheshet HaYamim was in June 67. We convinced my mother in 1967, then a month later in July, to go visit her brother she hadn't seen since 1937. He left Europe to go to Israel, 1937. Go, Mom. My mother was on a downer. She's a widow. She says, go visit her. She went together with my sister to Israel that trip. When she went to Israel, she made a visit to some cousins. One of the cousins she visited was great guy in the Tzaddik, Shlemke Berman, Panovich, Rosh Hashiva. She went to visit him. And when they left the house, he says to my sister, hands her a box, a chest, probably a cigar box. Those days, as you can mention the word cigars, cigar box probably full of photographs, which she didn't open up till she got back to America. She came back. My grandfather, the Colonel of Racha, moved to America right after my father passed away to stay with us. My father's father lived with us for 8 years after. It wasn't a favor for him, it was a favor for us because he was vibrant and strong, but he joined us to join the family. There were young orphans in the house. So when you go back to America, this box belongs to your Zayda. Give it to him. And sure enough, she brought the box there. And Zayda says, God, Bluma, look, pictures of you. She opens it up, loaded with pictures of my sister. The answer was simple. Because anytime we had no camera in our house. It's hard to believe. In their 60s, late 50s, no camera. A photographer came to the house every 6 weeks. With a big box, the tripod, with a bulb. He'd take pictures. If they came back, they were good. Off to Israel they went. The Zayda should have the photographs. If I ever had a good report card, which was very, very unusual, that report card immediately went to Israel. Immediately. And you had to bring it back in those days. Like today, it's computer. You get a new one every time. If you don't bring it back, you get punished. I had connections. My father was the principal, so it wasn't so bad. But the report cards were laying there. When he came back to America, he brought the report cards with him and all the photographs with him. I could say clearly that my Zayda lived in Eretz Yisrael, but he lived right with us right here. And today's day and age, it's almost criminal that shouldn't be going on. That shouldn't be going on. Caring for a grandparent, caring for a parent from afar. It's so easy today with technology. Like the Chofetz Chaim said about the radio. Technology today has been created for us. Taking care of parents, and it's a bracha. Taking a parents up close. You know, my father-in-law passed away about 5 years ago. My mother-in-law moved in with us for 2 years. And it meant come out losing my wife for 2 years because she was busy with which was fine. I could eat whatever I wanted at that time. Wasn't a problem. Anyways, those 2 years, she was busy day and night with her mother. And you know what? And so were my kids, which was wonderful. My married kids. She was local with us. We have 4 children living behind her locally. They were busy with her. It brought light into the house. She couldn't walk by herself at times, and she was not well most of the time. She was ready towards the end of her life. It brought light into the house. Look at it with a positive attitude. It's a bracha. And the biggest right is when they're no longer here, and all four grandparents no longer are here, that bracha is not here anymore. Look at it as an opportunity. How to do it? That's what elder care is all about. Sometimes it means taking them to an adult home. Sometimes it might even mean a nursing home. There are times for everything. The idea is that they're not a burden on us. They're a bracha for us. And we have to find every possible opportunity to find time for them. I get very upset when the newspapers write these articles, long articles about the Nebuch sandwich generation. The people are Nebuch living a long life now. It's a little bit of the mentality today. Basically the medical profession, when somebody turns 75, sayonara. They don't care that much anymore. This is part, really, I'm not going into politics over here, but the Obamacare, it's not so pashut, you should know. One of the things is that the elderly don't count any much. In our world, the elderly count very, very, very much. Every single person counts to the last breath they have. And that's our job. And they bring light into the room. They have a certain knowledge. The Sefer called Chavis Alvavas, that I'm going to right now, explains why is it that we love children very much. And they have a certain chen and a charm. And we don't mind diapering them. And Chavis Alvavas is a great work of ethics. Lived about 1,000 years ago, 800 years ago. And he says, why is it elderly who need to be diapered, and we have a problem with that? He explains that it shouldn't have been like that. By right, he says the reason, I'm going to go to that with different type of shmooze altogether. By right, it should be the opposite. It should be true. We should really care. And it's a bracha for us. It really is a tremendous bracha for us. And look at it as such. And with technology today the way it is, it's a very, very special thing that we really, really can do and must do. I'm just looking what to shorten up a little bit over here because the stories about wives. Rabbi Levine used to say, once Rabbi Levine was a tzaddik who lived in Yerushalayim. They called him the tzaddik of Yerushalayim. Rabbi Levine once went with his wife to a doctor with a foot. She had a problem with a foot. And when he walked into the doctor, he said in Hebrew, Haregel shalah ko'ev lanu. Her foot hurts us. This is the couple sitting across the doctor. Haregel shalah ko'ev lanu. This is a wife. And parents are the same thing. Just because they're older and they're not so well. Since Rav Shlomo Kluger was a big paisik, lived 200 years ago, Rav Shlomo Kluger, his svarim take up shelves in our library in the yeshiva. Huge man. He once writes in the tshuva the following. It's not a lesson to spouses also to hear. He writes the following. He writes that tshuva says when people used to send questions to the rabbis for them to answer the questions, and the rabbi sent responsa back the answers to them. And one of the responses, he got letters from the whole world. In one of the letters, he writes the following. He writes, I apologize for it taking me 6 weeks to answer your question. I apologize to you. But my wife became ill. And I was upstairs with her the entire time. And the room where the svarim, the books that I had to use to respond to you, was downstairs. I couldn't go downstairs to answer your questions. I had to look up the books. I couldn't go downstairs. 6 weeks. 6 weeks. Now that means he didn't go to shul. He didn't go anywhere. If he couldn't go downstairs because his wife, we have to look at the fact that if our parents are ill and not well, there's nothing else exists. The Torah was created not to do dafka according to what we think it has to be done. Primary comes our parents. Primary. If we're able to still help our parents and do for them, what a bracha. A wife, a spouse, the same halachas as his parents. You must. And parents they need time. They need time. And it's hard. As they get older, I'm not saying it's easy. It can be very, very difficult at times. But that's what's demanded of us and expected of us. And the Torah says, there's one thing that I promise you, arichas yam b'shanim, a long life. That's if you take care of your parents. If you take care of your parents, it'll give you a long life. And I want to see something much deeper into it. Your children will observe this. Your children will observe how you're taking care of your parents. There's no greater kibbud ava aim, no greater mitzvos than the lessons our children see us doing, practicing. We hope to age gracefully also. There's a famous story told over. I don't know if it's true or it's not true, where a fellow decided that he's going to, there was an old mother, Nebuch had Alzheimer's, she was not well, and she was living with the family, and she was a drain on the family. And the father decided it's time to, I'm sure it's not true, the story, it's whatever it is, but it's a good, certainly the Nimshal is good. He decided it's time to take care of her. And he packs her up into a trunk, and he packs the trunk in the back of the car, and takes the little daughter for a drive, a 9-year-old girl, and he stops in the middle of the bridge. He starts opening up the trunk to take out the trunk. And it's a better ending, relax. Anyways, starts opening up the trunk, and little girl shouts out to her father, "Pa, what are you up to? What are you doing here?" He says, you know, Grandma, she understands nothing. Life is terrible for her. She can't take care of herself. She can't eat. We have to feed her. She can't take care of her personal needs. It's impossible for her. It'll be easy for her. We'll drop her into the water. She's only in pain. This is the answer people give today. They give pain. She's suffering. It's better for her. Who told you? Who told you to leave alone for now? I mean, it's better for her. And he's telling his daughter, it's the good thing. It's the right thing. They're doing the right thing. Smart little girl now says, do me one favor. She doesn't know what's going on anyways. Do me a favor, take her out of the box. Just throw her out without the box. Says the father to the child, why? It's much neater this way. Nicer this way. He says, I want to save the box for you one day when you get older. So, I'm sure this story isn't true. We have to look at Kibbutz Avayim for our parents as a living lesson forever and ever and ever to our children. Their midos grow tremendously when we take care of our parents properly, not because we want our children to take care of us. We want to grow old and healthy till 120 years like Moshe Rabbeinu. Nothing should happen. We should be great till then, 100%. That's not the real reason, but that's certainly a totzah. There's something that comes out of all of this. It's really, and our job to come in elder care is, the truth is I'm singing, I'm preaching to the choir, I'm singing to the choir because the people who are here today are all here for one good reason, because you want to take care of your elder care. I shouldn't be speaking here. I should be speaking on the street to people who are not interested in their children. It used to pain me terribly. I had an old aunt and uncle living in an adult home. You remember, we used to go every Friday to visit them in an adult home in Far Rockaway. So I'm talking to the wrong crowd. You here? There's about 100 people sitting in this room. You're wonderful. You're wonderful. You came here because you want to help your parents. You want to help your grandparents. You really are wonderful. But the pain I had when I went to visit, you make friends when you visit every Friday. They were all our kids. They were young little kids. Pack them up in the car and go down to the adult home with my wife, myself, and visit them. But when you're there for an hour and a half, you make friends. What are the old people? They used to love little kids running around them. They enjoyed it. It was so wonderful for them. And you make friends. And I would talk to them, and they were visited twice a year at best. I never saw, most of them, I must have met hundreds of people in the 4 years that I visited my aunt and uncle at home. Must have met hundreds of elderly people there. Never a visitor. Never a visitor. Friday afternoon, many of them had people living in the town where I was. Never a visitor. And I would hear from them, Thanksgiving, big Yontif, the turkey, big Yontif, maybe Christmas, maybe, right? Maybe Hanukkah, maybe, perhaps, all right? And Mother's Day, of course, the great Yontif of Mother's Day, which I always hated my whole life because Mother's Day once a year, Father's Day once a year, I never understood it. My answer to it is it's a commercial Yontif. It's commercial. The whole thing is all to make money anyways, who really cares? But the point is they never had visitors, nothing, garnished. And we visited our uncle and aunt, it was so wonderful. So I'm speaking to the wrong crowd here. But I'm just speaking, we should all give kayak to ourselves. The possibilities exist forever. They exist for all of us to visit people. There are so many shut-ins. This is not my theme. I'm trying to stay to the theme today. On Shabbos, I have regular visits I'm not showing off. I am showing off. I have regular visits every Shabbos of people who don't get visitors all the time. Every Shabbos, I come home, I start the meal at 1 o'clock. My wife, thank God, says 1 o'clock, that's your limit. Okay, fine. I finish diving at 10:30. And those few hours I have visits to make. We all can make such visits. It's Olam Haba time, rabbis. It's Olam Haba time. Mashiach's on the way. He's coming. He's around the corner. Our parents, they're numero uno, really. There wants to be some time for questions, and I'm shortening the whole thing over here. One more topic I want to touch on, and then I'll open it up for any questions. Those who have to leave for mincha and so on could leave. I heard kids talking the other day. about Chalamayit, not Sukkot, Pesach. It's in about 5 months. We're going into Kislev, Teves, Shvat, Adar, 5.5 months to Chalamayit. You know why? They were saying how wonderful Chalamayit is. Chalamayit, but those who are not familiar, we have a holiday coming up, Passover. There's 2 days of we don't do any work, we don't travel. 2 days at the end, we don't travel. The 4 days in the middle, we have a good time. Okay, 4 days in the middle, it's called Chalamayit. These kids are talking about 5 months. Why? Because this year it's great. It's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Some parents are passing out right now. It's wonderful. We went to Prospect Park one time, during Chalamayit, and that was it. With our egg and our little piece of chocolate. That was it. Finished. matzah, we got butter, we ate gebrux. All right, so nothing. Every day you got to go somewhere. But it should be automatic. Children should know, parents, or an old aunt, or old uncle. There should be one day at least put aside. The kids won't like it, tough on you. We had an old aunt we had to visit. Finished. Chalamayit, that had to be number one, Chalamayit. We have to train our kids. It's not only us caring for them. Chalamayit comes to 4 days, you put away one day. Look, if it's Chalamayit only Thursday, Friday, Shabbos, Sunday, no, I understand maybe. So put away a Friday, put away, or Sunday, put away, Erev second days. How important it is. What about those people who leave to hotels for Yantiv or leave the old parents home? Not push it to me, not push it. Yantiv without grandparents? What's Yantiv all about? Not push it to me. I don't understand it. I don't understand it. If you're going to go away for a hotel for Yantiv, it's hard. The wheelchair and the walker. Nebuch, you have a grandparent. You have a parent. Count your blessings. And the chachma and the wisdom that comes with experience of old age. There's a chachma, there's a wisdom to them. To go away for Yantiv for 10 days over there, to gorge yourself and stuff yourself with everything, barbecue, Erev Pesach, pizza shop, pizza, Mitzvah Pesach. You didn't have it there for 8 days. What goes on in the hotel, I got to tell you. And you're spending tens of thousands of that. You can't take care of your. You want to go? You want to go to a hotel? You need a break. Gesundheit. Don't forget your old parents in Chalamayit, Yantiv, to visit them. You know, visit them. Kids shouldn't know. Kids, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th graders. 9 out of 10 do not know the phone numbers of their grandparents. How could that be? Caring from a parent from afar. How could it be that our children shouldn't know the phone numbers of their grandparents? How could that be? These are kids who don't have cell phones yet. The other ones have cell phones. Of course, can't remember because we all have vegetables in our brains. It's only in the automatic place over there, the numbers over there, automatic speed dial, whatever it's in over there. So they don't understand, they don't have phone. But little kids shouldn't know the phone numbers of their grandparents. They shouldn't call at least once a week. Most children do not call their grandparents maybe once a month and 2 months. They're lucky. Whose fault is that? Our fault. They don't. It's chinuch. It's part of chinuch. Educating them. Call your parents. It's so easy today with technology. Caring for your grandfather before. How about tzlacha? Enjoy your grandparents for many healthy and happy years to come. There's 3 minutes left for questions. No questions. Everything I said is great. No? All right. If you have anything to speak about, gesundheit. And I think there's mincha upstairs now. Where's mincha? Upstairs, okay, and there's no sessions. Thank you for listening, all the very best.